right now I am in Belgium, in the area of the Ypres salient that saw some heavy combat all throughout the First World War. And specifically, I'm kind of on the southern end of the Flanders area along the Messines Ridge. And in the winter of 1914, this would have been a place of violence and a place of war. But for one brief moment, it became a place of peace. Alright, so here's the deal. Today, I'm actually out here, not by myself for a change. I've got several friends with me who are also history creators on the YouTube. We've got Sander from Sander VK History. We're all filming here in the Ypres salient. We've got Marcel from History War Cinema. We've got Sean. He doesn't have a YouTube channel, but he makes breakfast.
I just cook breakfast, and he's very good at it too.
And we've got Chris from Vlogging Through History, stories of the Civil War, stories of the Great War.
Good enough.
VTH Gaming.
Don't forget VTH Extra.
VTH Extra. And Rob from History in Your Hand.
I eat the breakfast the show makes.
I actually have.
The town that we are looking at off in the distance is the town of Messines, and where I am currently standing, conveniently where this ditch is the approximate position where the British frontline trenches would have been at the end of 1914. And then if we look out here, kind of towards those buildings is where the German frontline position would have been, and the area in between would have been no man's land. Now, these two sides were obviously throughout the fall and winter of 1914 were just slugging it out here on the Ypres salient, and it got to Christmas Day and something pretty special happened here in this very spot.
So we're standing just behind what would have been the British frontline trenches in 1914. And in December of 1914, Bruce Bairnsfather, who was an illustrator for magazines and newspapers, a very gifted artist, wrote an account of the Christmas Truce that spontaneously happened right in this sector along here. And if you look back, right around where the tree is, would be about the British frontline trench. And beyond that, closer to the buildings, would be where the German frontline trench was. And in between, right in these fields, we know for sure that British and German soldiers came out of their trenches, exchanged gifts, and even somebody brought out a soccer ball at some point, a football for the Europeans. And he described kicking around a football between Germans and British soldiers right over to my left, to your right, over in this sector.
Here at the site behind the British line, they have a memorial to what happened here on Christmas Day of 1914. This is sometimes called the Football Memorial. So these soldiers who went out into no man's land exchanged gifts, exchanged drinks, and played football with one another. And just for a moment, the war subsided, at least right here in this sector. Now, there are stories of the same thing happening in other parts along the line, but this is the only place where we know it happened for sure, and you can see where people come and leave footballs in memory of this moment of peace. And then also, as part of the memorial, well, you can see these symbolic trench lines going out to the right and to the left, and we'll just walk over here real quick. You can see we've got barbed wire entanglements. This is meant to represent the British frontline trench. Now, this is not where the trenches actually were. This is a recreation. And if you come to this place, this bunker that you see in the distance, this is a recreated bunker. These are not original. And then you can just imagine being one of these British soldiers coming out here, maybe a little bit nervous, wondering what's going to happen, and meeting some of the German soldiers. So if we walk over here, well, this is meant to represent the German trench line. Wow.
So we've come to the football memorial, which is at the site of where the Christmas Truce happened, close to this area. This was put here in 2014, so the centenary of the Great War. And what I've done is they've got a place here where people can lay footballs to sort of pay their respects. And what we did is, it's 2024 and it's the European Championships coming up in just a couple of weeks. So myself and my boy Jake, he's 4 years old, we bought this football with the England badge on it. This is the 3 Lions badge for England. And him and I played football with this at home. We're the only 2 people who played football with it. We wrote on the side of it, Rob and Jake, May 2024. And I came here, we're going to lay this football to pay our respects, and then hopefully in the future, Jake, when you're watching this, you can see the video where I came and laid this for us here at the football memorial to pay our respects. Put it in there. Okay.
All right, while we were looking at the football memorial, these two kept combing the fields. What'd you find?
So I found a lead ball out of one of the cluster rounds they used. So the shell would be filled with a couple of hundred of them, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you can imagine the devastation. And a bullet, sadly it's missing the bullet, but it's unfired. You can still see the powder inside of it.
Holy cow, man.
And I found this. It's sort of a cap. I'm not sure what it is, but when you see this copper ring, that was surrounding the shell itself before it was fired. And it's pretty cool because when you're walking on the fields, you always need to look out for this green color, because then you find copper, and those are usually some better finds than only finding shrapnel on these fields.
I think that was personal. I think he just said that his find was better than yours.
Marked on the map. Birdcage unexploded mines.
With an X.
Marcel,
Yes.
so did you guys ever stop and play football with the Taliban?
No.
Didn't happen over in Afghanistan.
No.
Okay. I just thought I'd ask.
Maybe.
Now, right here next to the football memorial, or the Christmas Truce memorial, there's a British cemetery, or Commonwealth War Grave cemetery, called Prowse Point. And there are some graves in here that show that not everything was so peaceful here on the Western Front on Christmas Eve. So the man that we are looking at right here is Major C.B. Prowse of the 1st Battalion of the Somerset Light Infantry. And he was right here in this sector in October of 1915. The enemy had captured a section of British trenches in a sunken road, and he led an attack without artillery support to overrun the enemy. And he was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel and awarded the Distinguished Service Order. Well, this cemetery here is named for him. This is called Prowse Point. So if we go in here and we lift up this latch here, again, these Commonwealth War Grave cemeteries, I've said before, I really enjoy visiting these cemeteries because they are so unique. I love just looking at the regimental badges and then learning more about those regiments and reading the epitaphs that the families left below. These graves are so beautifully decorated by the groundskeepers. But anyway, there's a few graves over here that I want to show. So if we go around here and go to this second row, well, here you can see Jay Summers, who was killed on the 13th of December 1914. You can see Frederick Yates, who was killed on the 10th of December, and I said the second row, but that was mistaken. I actually need to go to the third row. Same regiment, but look at here. Here's a T. Delaney from the Royal Dublin Fusiliers, who was killed on Christmas Eve 1914. Here's one who was on the 23rd, and here's another one, P. McCarthy, Royal Dublin Fusiliers, 24th of December 1914. Now, whether that was elsewhere on the line where there was no Christmas truce, or if these guys were maybe killed in the morning before the truce was established, I don't know. But I just, anytime I see, any death is tragic, so don't get me wrong, but anytime I see one like on Christmas Eve or Christmas or what would have been Easter that year, it always makes me just really feel for the family, knowing that, you know, every year after that, you know, this time of joy had to have a twinge of sadness with it. So after this beautiful moment where these two sides come out of their trenches and come together and share a moment of humanity with one another, there are actually some issues. Both sides had to be rotated out because they didn't want to shoot at each other after this happened. And in the years after, the high command who really frowned upon what had happened here on the Christmas holiday would ramp up the artillery shelling in no man's land to prevent anything like that from happening again. But yeah, right here, Christmas Eve of 1914, in the midst of the worst of times, well, people showed a little bit of their humanity.